Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today I have one of my rare book reviews for you. That is The Magic of Tidying Up by Maria Kondo. She's Japanese, so I don't know if that's an American name with an odd spelling or if it's actually Japanese. But basically, this is a book about a very attractive Japanese woman that comes to your house and tells you to clean up your mess. And I would have to say that you would have to be pretty affluent and have some very, very weird fetishes to want to have a Japanese woman come to your house and clean up your mess. But I will also have to point out here that they have written a book about it where they do not have pictures of the Japanese woman. So she's actually there to help you clean up your mess. And there is something truly good about that, because in the world of psychology, we would refer to this as the work of a behaviorist, or a behavior specialist or behavior therapist who comes in. And they have these things, these doctors that come into people who have clutter problems homes and help them tidy up. So this is a woman. She's not a doctorate in psychology, but she is a person of the art and comes into your house and tells you one of the things that is absolutely true: only you can clean up your mess, because only you know what's important to you. And the other important thing, keep only in your life what brings you joy. Alright, I gotta love this stuff. I'm currently in the process of getting my own photographs together, like it says to do in this book. We as people, we have a problem with throwing out photographs, so I'm not throwing them out, but I am organizing them and I am cataloging them and doing that. And yeah, she says, hey, you should really take your photographs, organize them and catalog them, because guess what? When I look through my mom's old photographs, I got no idea who those people are. I may be looking at my grandmother. I may be looking at one of my dad's old girlfriends. How would I know? I've never met these people. So yeah, don't keep old photographs unless you're going to put them in an album and say what the heck they were, because 50 years from now when you're dead, your progeny is not going to be like, oh gee, who's that? They don't want to mess with that. Put it together, make it nice and neat, or get rid of it. And then another thing she talks a lot about is like greeting cards, how we save greeting cards because we feel guilty about throwing them out. Yeah, okay, I get that. If it doesn't bring you joy, chuck it. It doesn't belong. And another great thing she says in this book, don't be pawning off things to your relatives because they don't want that crud either. Don't be cluttering up other people's lives to clear out yours. The things I don't care for, however, in this book are like, there are people that have too many rolls of toilet paper. She's like, well, throw it out. No, I'd say use it. I mean, if somebody has a toilet paper thing, use it. I mean, you could go out there and say, all right, well, I'm going to keep this toilet paper in the bathroom. I'm going to keep this toilet paper under the sink and whatever have you. But throwing out something you use, I don't get, even if you have too much of it. I don't understand that. Maybe that's just me, and hey, I'm a clutter monster, so that might be the problem. But another thing she says is throw out your books. And if you haven't read the books, well, guess what? That's not a good reason not to throw them out. And it's like, yeah, look, I've got books in this very room that belong to my mother. I've got books in this very room that are older than my mother would be if she were still alive. And she would be in her 70s or 80s. I've got books that are so old, I don't know where they came from. And I intend to read every one of them, and I go through my books slowly, and I read and I read and I read. I don't think it's a good idea to ever throw out a book you haven't read, because you may get the inclination to read it. That's the whole point of books. You store a lot of books because you might want to read them. I'm a big fan of the idea of, look at your book collection, don't buy any more books until you've read the ones you have, because you're going to buy too many. Yeah, that I would get. But throwing out books just because you haven't read them, that I don't care for. Again, this woman talks about organizing things in a categorical fashion. And again, great idea. But where this idea breaks down, you must understand that The Magic of Tidying Up is a book for people who are reasonably affluent. It's a book for people who have the money to say, I don't need this, let me throw it out, and then can later say, oh, I did need that, let me buy another one. I mean, look, I was a theater geek at one time, and I saw the theater had 4 or 5 different pianos. And it's like, look, You don't need these things. You've been sitting them around forever, but you've got all this stuff over here that you're throwing out that you know you're going to need again. Yeah, okay. You try to keep things that would be useful. That makes sense to me. But, you know, you also want to keep things that you might need. That's part of life. On the one hand, I say The Magic of Tidying Up is a good book to read. On the other hand, I would say take it with a grain of salt. Don't think of it as the last word on cleaning, because you know what? Cleaning's a little more complicated with that. Anyway, if you've read this book and you've used what's inside it, why don't you tell me in the comments below? Did it work for you? I'm Richard Neal.